Hello, everybody. Welcome to KW905, where we are experiencing some fantastic technical problems that are really getting in the way of what's going on at the moment. So bear with me as we set up another take of the recording of KW905, which we are still trying frightfully to fix. So we're doing that right now. There we go. Let's see. All right. All right. Sorry about that. We had some trouble getting Life on a Chromebook off the ground, KW905. You'll just have to bear with me as I repost the link to Google Plus and all of the other shows. Link. Okay. I just started the recording. I restarted it right here. And now the only thing I need to do is get everything ready. Recording live. Now I have to get everything ready to go, and we're gone, and we're off. We're off. Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to KW905, the recording of the show that is all about the Chromebook, KW905 Life on a Chromebook. If this is the first time that you are watching a Nightwise.com recording, man, we're off to a bad start today. It's the 31st of December 2014. It's the last day of the year, and all of the technical difficulties that we haven't had during the year have massed up on us and collected and decided to ambush us just about half an hour ago when we completely crashed the previous recording of 905, our first take of KW905, because it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So we're back. Quick recap. Nightwise.com is a podcast with hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks. If you're one of those guys who uses, or girls who uses a Mac, Windows, Linux, Android, iOS, or Chrome OS, and doesn't really stop at one OS, uses different OSs, then you are a cross-platform geek, and this show is for you. We have all kinds of interesting concepts that we talk about, apps and tricks and tweaks and hacks about how to be a slider, how to go from operating system to operating system. And this is how we do it, baby. You're here for the recording of KW905, and we are going to record a podcast that is going to be edited down and shoved out via the RSS feed. Subscribe to that feed. Get all the shows in your podcatcher. It will sound a little bit different. We will edit out the bloopers, which in this case were many, and we'll add some music and some jingles, and you get the finished product. But if you are into unpolished stuff and you absolutely love the fact that you can hear us really mess up like we did half an hour ago, well, this is for you. So we're going to start by doing the recording, and we'll take it from there. Okay, I'm just going to fire up Audacity here. Let's see. Yep. Okay, Audacity's fired up. Okay. All right. We have some. We also, for those of you in the Google Hangout, we also have a Q&A. And you can add some questions to that. We have Jasper Rekenboer in the chat room. Hi, Jasper. Great to have you there. Okay, let's get started, because we have been screwing up for quite some time now. All right, 3, 2, 1. On the edge of real and cyberspace, there's one place you can go, and you found it. Welcome to Nightwise.com, the one and only podcast with hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks. Whether you're a Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, Android, or Chrome OS user, we have the tips and tricks you need to tune tech into your way of life and let that technology work for you. My name's Nightwise, and I'll be your host on this episode of the podcast, KW905 Life on a Chromebook. For more information and the show notes, go on over to the website, www.nightwise.com. That's KNIGHTWISE.com, where you'll find the links to everything we talk about and the Nightwise.com media feed. Subscribe to that feed and get all of the Nightwise.com podcasts delivered to your podcatcher automatically, letting technology work for you. Hey guys and girls, it's the last day of 2014. It's a rainy and cold outside, and I'm here in the studio doing a live episode of KW905 Life on a Chromebook. This is take 2 of the live cast because before we did this, we have had a terrible time in getting Google Hangouts working, and my Mac decided to really pull a fast one on me and, mess up the first part of the live recording, which was very embarrassing, but that is none of your concern because you are podcast listeners and you just get to hear the finished products. Well, we're not on a hiatus like most podcasts are, not doing best ofs or reruns or just doing nothing between Christmas and New Year because we've been on a hiatus for most of December. Life and work has been getting in the way, but it's great to be back. Behind the microphone and doing a show. Well, guys, today is going to be an interesting show. We are going to talk about the Chromebook. The Chromebook being that fancy Chrome OS laptop that has been appearing in the shelves of many tech retail supermarkets. Everybody's been raving about it for a couple of months. I was late to the party, but I got myself a Acer C730 11-inch Chromebook because I wanted to know what the buzz was all about, and I decided to play with it. It took me about a week to get used to it, and in that week I decided to only use the Chromebook. Hence the title of this episode, KW905 Life on a Chromebook. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of using a Chromebook. What are the possibilities? What are the limitations? And which hacks, tips, and tweaks can you cross-platform geeks use to really make a Chromebook work for you? Well, it's time to take a look at that. Let's get into the meat of the matter. All right, first export that part 1. There we go. Yes. Okay. We are getting a question in the chat room, but I have no idea how to answer that. There is a link to the chat room, Tim. It's on irc.freenode.net, and the name of the chat room is #nightwise.com. That is KNIGHTWISEDOTCOM. So nightwise.com, all one word. There's already some people who are there. I've disabled this chat room in the Google Hangouts because it's incredibly distracting if you're just by yourself recording the podcast, doing the editing, and taking care of the feedback. Let me see here where we are so far. Okay, ready for section 2. Ask your question. If you have any questions, by the way, guys, you can type them in the Q&A on the Google Hangout as well. I got a question how bad the cluster slip up was of the previous recording. It was pretty bad. I got caught on a newbie mistake. Won't happen again. So we're just doing a retake with a new link, which is going to completely ruin our audience and promotion, but that's okay. Let me see here. Okay, phone call. That's new. Hold on. Hallo met Jo Hendricks. Goed. David. Ja, mag ik binnen een half uur even terugbellen? Oké, nee. Helaas. Maar ik bel u binnen een half uur even terug. Is goed? Ja. All right, in the category of everything going belly up, there's a phone call, and now you heard me say things in Dutch, which was not something I really wanted to broadcast because it's weird for you guys. All right, where are we? Ready for take two. This is going to be the ultimate. This is the blooper reel of 2014, ladies and gentlemen. All the questions, all the slip ups and errors and horrible scenarios that can go wrong during a live cast have been waiting for us at the end of the year and are now ambushing us. We also have Jaspio in the chat room. Hey, Jaspio, how are you doing, dude? We have a Q&A section on the Google Hangout in which you can post your questions and I will try to answer them. And that's that. All right, continuing where we left off. I need a producer. I really need a producer. To handle all of this because it's a little bit too much. Okay, here we go for part two. It might very well be that you have spent the last year on a different planet. Either you were abducted by aliens or NASA asked you on a super secret mission to repair the flat tire of the Mars rover. Because you were on a different planet, you didn't have any opportunity to listen to any Terran broadcasts. So if you're back, welcome back. Okay, again. See, that's a live recording for you. It goes, sometimes it doesn't go so well. Okay, right, here we go. It might very well be that you have spent the last year on a different planet. You might have been abducted by aliens. You might have been sent there by NASA to fix the flat tire on the Mars rover. And in that year, you were unable to listen to any Terran broadcasts or news. If so, welcome back home, and you probably never heard of a Chromebook. If so, we'll try to update you a little bit, space traveler. The Chromebook is what I call a threesome between a browser, a network card, and a mainboard, because that's basically what it is. It is a super light, cheap laptop with almost no storage. And it comes with Chrome OS. And Chrome OS is basically nothing more than the Chrome browser with a couple of add-ons. And that's it. In return, these underpowered machines that make a netbook look obese, I call them the anorexic version of netbooks, give you a very low price and a very high and long battery life. So that's a great trade-off. But the only application that you have on it is a browser. That's everything that you get. So what's so cool about it? Well, I thought, you know what? I get me some Chromebook. I get me some Chromebook now. I get myself a Chromebook. So I went over to the local store and I got me one of these Chromebooks, an Acer C730. The Acer 720 was one of the most popular Chromebooks out there because it had an Intel processor, a good screen, and it allowed all kinds of hacks. So I thought, you know what? I'll go with the next model, the 730, and see where I go. So my first impressions of the Chromebook were actually quite positive. It did remind me of my old Asus EEE 700 mini netbook. Remember those tiny ones? But it's a little bit better. Oh, again. All right, got some interruptions here. That's That's a live broadcast for you. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a little bit of, I need to give my laptop some power. Hold on. Oh. Oh, man. Right. Hold on. Power, power, power. Yep, this is the Nightwise.com episode in which everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. So let's just, pile everything on top of each other. Okay, retake of part 2 after getting phone calls, messages, and running low on juice and crashing Audacity. Do not recover. Yes. Let me see where we are. Okay, here we go. Da, 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 da. All right. Section 2, take 3. It might very well be that you have, again, it might very well be that you have spent the last year on a different planet. Either you were abducted by aliens, or perhaps you were sent by NASA to fix a flat tire on the Mars rover. And in that year, you have been unable to listen to any Earth broadcast and find anything about a Chromebook. Well, if that's the case, welcome back, and it's okay, we'll fill you in on what a Chromebook is. A Chromebook is an anorexic version of a netbook. Basically, it's a threesome between a network card, a mainboard, and a browser. Because for not a lot of money, you get not a lot of laptop. It's a machine that only sports one thing, a browser, and that's its operating system. So why would you need one? Well, that was the question that I asked myself not too long ago when I heard all about the Chromebook buzz. And I thought, what am I going to do with a laptop that has nothing on it except a browser? But it was time to bite the bullet and actually go for it and try it. So I got myself an Acer C730, an 11-inch Chromebook, which did remind me a little bit of my old Asus EEE701 netbook in the look and feel and the quality. I mean, this is not a high-end device, but my first impressions of it were, it's actually not that bad. The laptop is very, very light. It looks like it's built pretty sturdy. I wouldn't use this in a, on a building site or something, or give it to somebody who is extremely clumsy with laptops, because, the hinges are well built, but it's, it's minimalistic. Let's call it that. The keyboard is pretty good. I'm very interested. I was very pleasantly surprised. The keyboard is large enough and it has a nice feel to it to type on. You have these chiclet keys with enough spacing. And when I take a look at the keyboards of my MacBook Pro and my Chromebook, they kind of look alike. The MacBook Pro ones feel a little better to type on, but on the Chromebook, it's pretty much okay. The screen is a little bit more disappointing. It's not great. This is not a high quality, super contrasty, sharp, super great screen. It's great when you're at the right angle, but if you're at the wrong angle, it's not so great. I mean by that when you're looking at it at the correct angle and the right angle, the screen is good. The colors are a little bit washed out, but everything is clear and can be read well. But if you tilt the laptop display back a little bit too much, or a little bit forward too much, you really see all the colors wash out, or the viewing angle is like 90 degrees straight ahead. And please don't think of using these laptops while sitting 2 chairs to the side and trying to glare at it. Some people might call that a bug. Some people have called it a privacy feature. that only the person sitting in front of the notebook can read what's on the notebook. Well, the price is 269 euros, which is overall not bad, especially considering that the battery life on this thing is awesome. And that is because it doesn't have to do all that much. It has to run one thing, and that one thing it has to run is Chrome OS. And, well, Chrome OS isn't there. Well, you don't really notice it. You have a wallpaper and you can launch a browser, and that is basically Chrome OS. You have the ability to save some files, but you only have 16 gigabytes of local storage. You have an N-class network card, which gives you high-speed wireless connection, and 2 USB ports, and that's it. So you don't get a lot of laptop for that amount of money, but the amount of laptop that you get is actually surprisingly good enough. So let's talk about the Chrome OS that's on there. The Chrome OS is basically your Chrome browser as you know it and have installed it perhaps on your Mac or your Linux machine or your Windows machine, God knows what. So it's synced up with Google, so your bookmarks and everything come over from your Chrome installation after you sign into Chrome OS. And then you can add some things to your browser. And this is where I thought it got pretty confusing, because in Chrome OS, you have Chrome apps and you have Chrome extensions. And it was a little bit hard for me to find out what was what. I mean, I have this Chrome browser here, and I can go to the Chrome store to get extra apps / extensions to my Chrome browser. So what do I do with that? So extensions are basically little subprograms that are added to your browser to give it extra possibilities. And extensions are there no matter on what operating system you're running your Chrome. So if you have installed an extension on your Chromebook, you can also use that extension on your Chrome browser when you are logged in on your different machine, on another machine, your Mac or your Windows machine. So an example of an extension is, for example, the Pocket extension. It is a little button that sits next to your address bar and helps your browser do things. So in case of Pocket, when I am surfing and I find a page that I find interesting and I want to add it to Pocket, I just punch the little button and the page gets added to Pocket. Now, there is also a Pocket app. And this is a separate icon in your Chrome launcher, which is Chrome OS launcher, which is kind of like a start menu. And when I press it, it takes me directly to Pocket. It logs in and gives me the Pocket interface with all of my articles in a different window. So you have the Pocket extension that helps the browser do things, and you have the Pocket app, which is kind of like a standalone application. And I do use air quotes when I say application, because quite frankly, most of these apps, some of them do standalone things, and some of them are just links to whatever website the extension or application points to. So for example, there is the Feedly app, which is basically just Feedly in a window. So that was really confusing to me to find out, like, what was an app, what was an extension, and what was just a direct link. And to be very honest, they kind of go, they are a little bit jumbled up in the Chrome App Store. But the best tip I can give you is just go into the Chrome App Store and try to look for what you want and just press install, and don't worry about whether it's an app, a link to a website, or an extension. Now, using the Chromebook was, of course, a whole new thing. That was completely new to me. I was used to working on Macs and Linux machines and Windows machines that gave me an actual computer underneath. The Chromebook is, well, a web-based thin client because it can do hardly anything on its own. It has to be connected to the web. So what if you take this baby to work? That was, for me, the ultimate test. I was going to see if the Chromebook was really worth it, and I was going to take it to work with me. So the next day, I had a meeting scheduled with one of my clients. And normally I take my MacBook there, so I just have everything with me. But I decided to be bold and take just my Chromebook. So we're going to see what happens when you take your Chromebook to work. Okay. Right. Looks okay. Check the feeds. All right. It's pretty cool. People in the chat room are talking about everything that is not related to the podcast, which is always nice. That means that the community is alive. Just save the second part. Hold on. Sounds good. Let's see here. That looks good. File, export that to section. That is part 1. Okay. Let's see here. Check the socials. It's very quiet on the socials. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. Back to the show notes. Quick coffee break. By the way, for those of you watching the live feed, this is a cool thing. This is not a Chromebook, of course. This is a TOS, Star Trek, the original series tricorder that I got from Allison and Steve, fans of the show. And today it is prominent in our live recording, just to say thanks. Sometimes it's really nice to get something from the listeners and as a surprise. So I thought, I needed it in the show today. Tim, the channel that you are looking for is nightwise.com. That's #nightwise.com, all one word. So it's not #KWTV Live or #KWTV 2010. You just have to press /J and then space and then #nightwise.com, KNIGHTWISE.com. There you go. I hope that helps. All right, on to the next part of the recording. So I decided to be bold and take my Chromebook to work with me. I had a meeting with one of my clients the next day, and I just packed the Chromebook and was out the door. I knew that they had a Wi-Fi hotspot, so I supposed that I would be fine. I could connect to the internet so I could do whatever I needed to do. When I arrived at the client, I was presented with an interesting dilemma because the client asked, "Oh, have you brought those 3 files you sent me earlier?" Well, I replied, "I have sent them to you earlier." And he said, "Yeah, I've kind of lost them. I mean, don't you have them with you on your laptop?" And, that was it. I had the Chromebook with me. I didn't have anything on there. So that was a little bit of a challenge. I worked around it by getting the files back from Dropbox, on which I had placed them a couple of days earlier. So there was no problem whatsoever. But it is an interesting anecdote when you want to think about using your Chromebook for work. I've been getting a lot of flack and discussions about the Chromebook, basically people saying, "This is not a real laptop. I can't use this. This isn't for me." Well, yeah, but it does kind of depend on how you work. It's like buying a car and afterwards complaining it can't fly. Because you have to think about not only what the Chromebook can and cannot do, but also what you require it to do. And sometimes it's easier to say, okay, I just want a laptop that does blah, 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 and be done with it. But it's also perhaps pretty interesting to take a look at how you work, how your workflows are organized, and how you can tune them into what a Chromebook has to offer. Now, for me, the Chromebook wasn't really a big problem. I have been doing cross-platform work with the Chromebook for quite some time. Well, not with the Chromebook, but I've done with again. Take two. That's when you read a question or something in the chat room, you really mess up, and then you have to do it again. So, is the Chromebook right for work? That kind of depends on how you work. A lot of people say the Chromebook is not right for work. No, it's not good. It doesn't have any local applications and stuff like that. Yeah, that's true. And whether or not that works for you depends not on the Chromebook, but it depends on your workflows. It's like buying a car and afterwards complaining that it can't fly. There is only a limited amount of things that a Chromebook can do, but with that limited amount of things, you can get your stuff done should you want to, and it all depends on how you work. I took the Chromebook with me to the client on the first day, and I thought, he has a Wi-Fi hotspot. I can connect to everything. I don't need any files with me. I'm good. But when I got there, the client asked me, so have you brought those 3 files that you did for me? I said, like, oh, yeah, because I sent them to you. Yeah, but I kind of lost them. Don't you have them on your laptop? And that was it. They weren't on my laptop because I didn't have any local files. Now, I managed to work around that because my workflow is kind of cloud oriented. And it is, however, an anecdote of the things that you can run into with your Chromebook. It all depends on what you expect and what you need. So whether or not the Chromebook works for your workflow depends on your workflow, not on your device. Chromebook is basically a browser with a couple of add-ons, and how you organize your workflows depends is going to determine whether or not the Chromebook is going to be successful. The Chromebook is designed to connect to the public cloud. It is built with a certain purpose in mind. Google has designed the Chrome OS and sponsored the price of your Chromebook just for you to use Chrome OS, not another browser, and if possible, use their Google apps and their Google environment and pay for that if you want to, or you use the free version. But you can also access everything else that is on the web. And with the cloud booming, that's quite a bit. So it's heavily geared towards the public cloud and the internet. There are no client-side applications to speak of. I mean, if you are used to working with a local Outlook client or a local Thunderbird client or a local, I don't know what client, there's not a lot of that to go around. It's not really designed to be used offline. So if your workflows kind of make you offline for a large amount of the day, then the Chromebook's probably not really for you. And it's not really geared to tunnel into corporate networks using VPNs and stuff like a classic laptop is. So here was my dilemma at the client. He asked me for those files, and I didn't have those files with me. Luckily, I had them in the public cloud. I also had them on my home server, but there is no option to just, dial into a PPTP VPN server on the Chromebook. This thing is meant to be used in the public cloud. So instead of using an abstract example where how the Chromebook might work for you depending on your hypothetical workflow, I'll just give you a little hint on how I work and which apps and stuff that I use that let me use my Chromebook for, I think, 99% of what I do. Now, I've been used to doing stuff on a OS independent platform. When I did the episode, the cross-platform startup, I explained my workflow on how I had trimmed and tuned the workflows of my company so I could use any laptop whatsoever to do my thing. So I wasn't dependent on Windows. I wasn't dependent on Linux or Mac. I could just do what I needed to do for my company. So how I work on the Chromebook for my company is as follows. I use Gmail. I have Google Apps in the cloud for my domain, and I also use Gmail offline. This gives me the ability to do email, communicate with my clients, and when I'm offline, still take a look at their emails and reply or work through them and then synchronize when I get back online. Works on the Chromebook, no issue. I use the Sunrise Calendar app, that's a Chrome app, and I sync it with my Google Calendars. The great thing with the Sunrise Calendar is that it is available offline and that you can sync back when you reconnect. So that works great on the Chromebook. I keep notes in Evernote, which on the Chromebook I can only do online. I keep a track of my to-do list on using the web app called AnyDo, which is also on the Chromebook, available only online. And I use Google Docs for text editing and stuff like that. Now, on my home network, I had some, I wanted to interact with my Linux servers that I had running. So I, instead of opening up SSH ports and using SSH clients, I just installed the app Shell in a Box on my Linux server. And this allows me to connect to my terminal on a browser, which is great. It works on any browser and it works great on Google Chrome. I have a NAS at home and I do store files there, and I do need to connect to those files or get those files from time to time. I have VPN solutions for my regular laptops, but for the Chromebooks, I decided to use OwnCloud. I have a Linux server that is running OwnCloud, and OwnCloud is a web-based interface to your files. It's kind of like Dropbox, but just for you. So using the OwnCloud server, I mounted the folders on my NAS drive, and using a web browser, I can upload and download files to my home network and my home file server using just a browser. Works on a Chromebook. When I want to write up small articles or do some writing or type something out and I'm offline, I use the Writer application, which is a Chrome app. Great thing about Writer, it is a distraction-free interface to doing some writing. You have a black background and green letters, and that's it. So very minimalistic. I really like it. But it also syncs offline and online with your, let me see here, Dropbox and Google Drive. So that's a great app on the Chromebook that I use quite a bit to type and write articles, and that is called Writer. I've also found a application that is called Record Screencast, and Record Screencast lets me do just that, record 10-minute screencasts on my Chromebook. So those are the things that I have installed on my Chromebook, how I work on my Chromebook. But one of the things I ran into, not too far into my week, was the fact that, when I'm out and about with my Chromebook, I use the public networks quite a bit. And I don't really like using public Wi-Fi. It really irks me because you can very easily sniff traffic or set up honeypots, and you never know how safe that Wi-Fi network is that you're on. Now, on my Linux machines and on my Macs, I have set up a little application called Shuttle, SSHUTTLE. And that basically makes a tunnel from your laptop to an SSH server in my home network, and then shoves every piece of internet traffic through there. It arrives encrypted on my home router, goes through the SSH server that I have, and then leaves for the internet. So the part between my laptop on the foreign network and the place where I leave for the internet, and that's my home router, is completely encrypted. I really love this solution, and I spent some time looking for something on the Chromebook that would help me do that as well, because the Chromebook doesn't have any VPN adapters to speak of. So I thought, how am I going to tunnel back into my home network, and how am I going to encrypt my traffic, and how am I going to be safe when I am on my on a public Wi-Fi network? So I thought this, I found this great little tool. And let me see here where the show notes are, so I just get the name straight. And it's called Switchy Shop. Switchy Shop is an extension, a proxy extension that tells your Chrome browser to tunnel all of its traffic through a certain point, through a certain port. So how does it work? Pretty easily. You use the app, Chrome app, called Secure Shell. Secure Shell is a terminal application for Chrome that lets you set up an SSH connection to your home server. Easy. You enter the coordinates of your home server and you enter an option to forward traffic of port, let's say 8080 dynamically. I'll put a link to show notes on how to do that. Once you've established a connection, you set up Switchy Shop and you tell your Chrome browser to use that one dynamic port, port 8080, and send not only all of your HTTP traffic through there, but also your DNS traffic. That way, all of the web requests of your Chromebook, which are all DNS and HTTP anyway, get tunneled through that SSH connection, tunnel back to your home. There they leave the internet. And that way you are not only completely secured on the foreign network, because you use an SSH connection for all of your traffic, but you can also tunnel back to your home network. And on my home network, I have all these web interfaces like Webmin and Shell in a Box and OwnCloud that I can access using the browser on my Chromebook. So that was for me a way not only to use my Chromebook to work with the public cloud, stuff like Dropbox and Google Drive and Google Calendar and Gmail, but also with my own private network where I have a web-based interface to my NAS, a web-based interface to my network printer, Webmin interfaces to my server. So that way I could also use the Chromebook to connect to my home network. Can you take your Chromebook to work? It depends on how you work. But if you look around long enough and kind of think about how you do things, I think you can survive on a Chromebook during a workday without too much trouble. Okay, we've got some feedback here. Let me see. Jasper asked the questions. Have I tried on installing Linux on a Chromebook? Yes, I have. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Tim is posting the links to Shell in a Box, OwnCloud, and the Switchy Shop link. I'll put that one in the show notes along with the how-to on how to do that. I've written an article about how to connect to your home network using what is technically called a SOCKS 5 proxy over SSH. All right. Time for part 3. Can a Chromebook keep you entertained? First export this. First export part 2. All right. It looks like it's cozy in the chat room. Tim hasn't arrived yet, which is odd. Let me see here. Just catching up. You know what? I'll a little bit social. Let's see if we can pipe the. Let's see if we can pipe the chat room. There you go. That's the chat room for you. I'll keep those guys live while I'm doing the next part. And guys in the chat room, if you type things and say things, beware, they are broadcast towards the internets. Yeah, Jaspio, I know the Switchy Shop extension is really awesome. Go over to nightwise.com, take a look at the blog article I wrote up on that one. Oh, there's Regravity. He's found the chat room as well. Good. So Jaspio, go over to the website, take a look at the links, because we did an article on how to connect completely. And the great thing is with Switchy Shop is that you can actually also use Switchy Shop and Secure Shell on your browser of your Windows or your Mac or your Linux machine. So if you're not on a Chromebook, that also still works. Great when you're on the I don't know, McDonald's hotspot or stuff like that. You can really use it. All right, I'm going to go for part 3. You guys just keep chatting away. Oh, where were we? Okay. Yep. Yep. This is really this is something that is really demanding. Keeping making sure that you check out the chat room and stuff like that. There's our friend Godel Sproof, who is also at the live podcast. Godel is a long-time listener of the show from Japan, if I'm not mistaken. He had a birthday a couple of days ago. So happy birthday, Godel. Great to see you there. If you want to join the IRC chat room, you can. That is irc.freenode.net, and the hashtag is nightwise.com, all one word. All right, let's see. Time for part 3 of the recording. Here we go. This is really the blooper episode of the year. I've had phone calls, messages. I've got I haven't showed you yet. Before we start the second part, I've got guests. Let me see who our guest here. Okay, guys in the chat room, check it out. Here's our guest. This is Sulu, my Shiba Inu. Sulu is a very affectionate Shiba Inu who kind of is about as affectionate as a cat. When she wants to, she comes and cuddles with you, and when she doesn't, well, she doesn't. Right now, she's at my feet constantly, trying to get my attention. So I just thought I'd bring her to the show. So YouTube, meet Sulu, who's not really YouTube friendly. I've gotten some comments about her. Is she a dog? Yes, she is a dog. So awesome. It's a Shiba Inu. Not the kind of dog from the movie. What's it called? Hachiko? Those are Akita Inus. Those are the big ones. This is a small, tiny Shiba Inu. She's very cute. Let's see here. All right. Let's get started for part 3. But all work and no play makes Nightwise a dull boy. Can you be entertained by a Chromebook? That's the question. I mean, when the lights go out and the work dies down and everybody leaves for home and you take your little Chromebook home with you, can it keep you entertained? Because let's face it, there is hardly any storage on this machine, no place to put torrented movies should you have downloaded them, or massive music collections. How can something that is so small, so light, and has basically zero storage keep you entertained? I decided to test it out. Niana was out for the evening to yoga class, and I was at home deciding to be bold and once again only use my Chromebook to do the entertainment. So at first I read a book on my ebook reader, and I decided that the Chromebook would be in charge of the musical department. Dear Chromebook, stream music for me. Well, there's a lot of music to be streamed. Of course, you can get a Spotify account or listen to Groove Shark or SoundCloud. That's great. You can listen to music for hours. The C730 has kind of decent speakers. I also have pretty good headphones. So that was great. And then I thought, how about, watching some movies? So I connected to the web interface of my Plex server, where I can, watch whatever I've stored on my Plex server using a browser. You don't need a client. That worked, and that worked fine via the web interface. After that, I decided to dive into YouTube, and my God, there is so much stuff on YouTube. I mean, I don't care that I don't have a torrent client on this thing. There is so much content that you can just stream for free. I decided to look for episodes of Battlestar Galactica 1980, and I found the entire season to watch, which was awesome. I'm old. I'm retro. I watch that kind of thing. But there is so much on YouTube to keep you entertained. The great thing is that the Chromebook works wonderfully with the Chromecast. I've got a Chromecast stick in my TV. All I needed to do is go to YouTube and just press the Chromecast extension, and it worked perfectly. The Chromebook turned out to be an excellent remote. It streamed the video to the Chromecast. I watched TV using the Chromecast from content that was on YouTube, and it worked perfectly. It's amazing how good this works. And my Chromebook with nothing on it was my main source of entertainment for the entire evening. Because when I was done with YouTube, there was only also Vimeo, and there were also TED Talks to watch. So much content that I could go to. I also went to the Internet Archive and looked up some old classic sci-fi movies. Great stuff. And you have the Chromecast extension for Chrome that allows you to throw whatever content that you have straight to your Chromecast. It works great. There is, of course, that moment when you want to watch videos offline, and I found the app called Subtitle Video Player, which is a Chrome app that allows me to play almost any extension on my Chromebook. So I have an SD card with movies on it. I think MK4, MKV, MV4, all kinds of wacky formats. It supports it. It's kind of like a VLC-ish player for Google Chrome, for the Chromebook, sorry. And that will just play any offline medium that you have. And because the Chromebook has a micro SD card, you can just put movies on there or on a USB stick and use one of the two USB slots or the micro SD card. Oh, sorry, the SD card slot, not a micro SD card, the SD card slot to slide in a little bit of extra storage. By the way, a little tip on that. I have ripped my classic Star Trek TOS series to a micro SD card. I have ordered a mini micro SD card adapter online that is about half the size of a standard mini SD card. I slide the micro SD card into the SD card slot, which is, the adapter, which is about half the size, and slide that into my Chromebook, and it doesn't stick out. And you can just add storage that way easily, and you have it with you offline. So whether or not you're online and there is the plethora of entertainment on the internet to keep you entertained, or offline, where you can use the subtitle video player to play movies and subtitle files while you're offline, I am pretty much certain that your Chromebook can keep you entertained. All right. Export. That is part 3. And now for the part 5. Okay, quickly just check the socials. All is calm on the socials. Oh. All right. Sula's at my feet here, enjoying her little day when I'm working from home. In the office. Let me see here, just to go back to the chat room real quick before we continue. Just show you the chat room and pick in on what people are saying over there. Yeah, the Chromecast is okay, says Regravity, but it's not the best device I've ever used. I know, but I do say that Tim, that she's pretty okay. I mean, the Chromecast is pretty okay depending on what you do. I have an Android tablet that throws stuff like Netflix and Plex towards the Chromecast. That works great. And we use our browser when we go to BBC iPlayer or any other web-based service and throw that to the Chromecast. I found it to take care of 95% of the TV needs that I have. And for the other 5%, I've just still classically hooked up a PC to my TV, which enables me to play whatever that cannot be played via either Plex or via the browser, and that kind of works pretty okay for us. It's very, what I have known is, what I can say is that although the Chromecast is perhaps limited, it is also extremely stable. It just works, and Niana has tested it out over the last couple of months, actually, and she's never complained. So that is always very important, that the wife and girlfriends get to work with it and have no complaints of stuff breaking or not working. Let me see. Yeah, you're true. You're correct there that it's a poor media center, but it's actually an endpoint for a media center. I would suggest taking a look at Plex as your media center backend, and then just throwing that towards your Chromecast. That will actually work fine. All right, going for the final part. This is going to be with Sulu on my lap because she insists of sitting here. All right, let's do it that way. There we go. All right, here we go. But what if your default design specifications are not enough? What if you want more out of your Chromebook? Can you? Well, you can. Hardware-wise, it's actually quite easy. You can, as I said earlier, add some storage by using a SD card, or using a small SD card adapter and a micro SD card, and shove in, I don't know, 64 gigabytes of extra storage. You can do that. You can use one of the two USB ports on there to connect an extra mouse, a keyboard. You can even connect an extra webcam. I haven't tried that yet. So that works also pretty well. And you can use the HDMI connector to actually connect it to a big screen, which also works fine. And you can use the Chromebook either with the lid open or the lid closed when you're connecting it to an external screen. That works really well. I'm pretty pleased with that. So that's all good and well. That's all kind of basic, but you can take it, of course, one step further. Those are hardware hacks, that's a big word, extensions to your Chromebook, but you can also make it do stuff that it was not supposed to do. And that is the stuff that we absolutely love, of course. One of the things that you can do on these things, and that is where the hype comes, is that you can run Linux on them. You can install different distributions of Linux on your Chromebook. The first thing that you can do is dual boot your Chromebook, where you take the limited local storage and cut it in half. You give one half to your Chrome OS, you give the other half to your Linux install, and at the beginning of your boot sequence, you just choose whether or not you want to use Linux or you want to use Chrome OS. This keeps the two environments completely separated, and it lets you dual boot your Chromebook. I would go over to distroshare.com, which is a great website where you can find a customized Ubuntu distro for dual booting your Chromebook, and that works pretty well. But what if you say, well, dual booting is okay, but I don't want to choose. I want to slide. You can actually slide from OS to OS on your Chromebook, and it works pretty darn well if you use Crouton. Crouton is a script that lets you install Linux on your Chromebook side by side to your Chrome OS. The way it works is you put your Chromebook into developer mode. That's pretty easy to do. You download the Crouton script, and then in a terminal, you tell Crouton to go download some Linux distro that you can choose with some graphical interface that you can choose. You can choose to use LXDE or XFCE or Unity or KDE or I don't know what. You can choose from various flavors of Linux. There are the Ubuntu distros that you can have installed. There are the Debian instances that you can install. All kinds of different distros that you can have the Crouton script install. And what it does, it installs them side by side. That means that the storage on your Chromebook is shared by both operating systems. So if you save something in Linux, it's also available in Chrome OS. This is great stuff, to be honest, and it lets you install Linux on your Chromebook. Now, keep in mind that you have limited storage, so a full-fledged distro install might not be a good idea because you'll eat up too much storage space, but it works pretty good. The great thing is that you can switch back and forth between the two operating systems using two simple keystrokes. And I think that's Control Alt left arrow and Control Alt right arrow. And then you can really jump from Chrome OS to the Linux distro. I like that because the Linux distro keeps running in the background, Chrome OS keeps running in the background, and stuff like suspend resume works perfectly. You just close the lid, open the lid, jump into Chrome, do stuff, press the buttons, go into Linux, do other stuff, jump back. I love it. It's like having two laptops side by side with one keyboard and one screen. It's absolutely awesome. Really, really cool. Now, the distro that you get when you're using the Crouton script is pretty basic. And that's not a bad thing because it helps you not to over pimp your Linux install. It's still a Chromebook and it does have limited storage. So you get the basic apps in your Linux distro and you can just install whatever you need. I loved doing this. I installed Ubuntu Linux with XFCE. And I decided that I would only need the minimum amount of applications to be used offline in my Linux distro. So what did I install? I installed Shuttle so I could tunnel home on my Linux machine. I installed, let me see here, Skype, because that wasn't on the Chromebook and I might need that. That was cool. I installed OpenOffice offline so I could use, do spreadsheets and stuff offline when I wanted to. Focusrite for blogging, and a couple of terminal apps, but only the absolute minimum. Now, how do I use my Chromebook? Well, I also use, how do I use the Linux distro on my Chromebook? I use it to do the things that Chrome OS cannot do. And what I've started to notice is that the amount of stuff that Chrome OS cannot do is not very much, but there are those things like, for example, Audacity or Screencast, a decent video editor, or Skype are not available on Chrome OS, but this is where Linux jumps in and can really fill that gap. And then you get a combination of something that is very, very interesting. You get a light laptop, also both in price, in processor power, and in weight, that can run two operating systems at the same time, side by side, allowing you to jump over from one to the other. So cross-platform sliding right there. It has an awesome battery life. It really does. I mean, I plug this thing in like I plug in my phone. Overnight, I yank it out of the power cord, and then I use it all day long and never have to worry about the battery. And that's about it. I have a great laptop that is cheap, light. It's not very powerful, but it does what it needs to do. It uses the power of the cloud. It has a Linux operating system on the side when I need it to really access that power. And then you go into the power of Linux where you can do a lot with not a lot of storage and not a lot of CPU power. So you have a lot of options for not a lot of money. And it's a beautiful device. I take this with me every single day now because my MacBook Pro, although I love the thing, is just too valuable and too expensive to take with me. If they steal my Chromebook, what the hell? I don't care. It's like 200 euros or 250 euros, and there's nothing on there. So it's a great laptop, not only as an extra laptop, but also as a challenge for a cross-platform geek to see how far he can take his cross-platform skills. Can you do everything in a browser? And if not, what if you had Linux on the side to kind of fill in the gaps? A great little device. I've been working for it for over a week now, and more it's challenging me to, what else can I do on this? What else can I do on this? And with the combination of Chrome OS and Linux, there is not a lot that you cannot do on a Chromebook. If you haven't gotten one yet, don't be frightened by the fact that it's just a browser, because you're not just a geek. If you're listening to this show, you know how to expand the possibilities of your Chromebook, either within the design specifications or beyond the design specifications. I've been living on a Chromebook for a week, and I must say, I am able to survive. I am still here. And yes, you can have life on a Chromebook. Okay, that's that part. Quick message. All right. Save, export. And now we're going to close it up. This is Sulu being Sulu, by the way. She just loves to sit on my couch, sit on my lap, put her hat on my arm, and just sit there. That's her way of being affectionate, and she's really she really likes to do that. All right, time to close off. All right, a little bit of chat room chatter. Talking to Tim here, who doesn't think the Chromecast is very stable. That's strange. I found it to be extremely reliable. Jaspio just got back. You missed the part about entertainment. That's okay, Jaspio. You can listen to the recording of this one, or you can wait for the episode to come on, which will probably be by tonight. And I'm going to see if I can record the last part of the podcast. And Sulu does not want to leave. Okay, this is great. Look, people in the live stream. Sulu is putting her chin on the notebook and just, yeah, being Sulu. All right. Jaspio, what do I say about Silverlight powered media? Silverlight? Come on. Who still? Yeah. Okay. No Silverlight. Doesn't work. Who still uses Silverlight? Really? Seriously? Really? Silverlight. I mean, the same people who still use COBOL, I think. All right. Quickly check the feeds. Keep track of the socials. Here we go. All right, here we go. Okay. Again, restart. All right. 3, 2, 1. And that's all we have time for this week on KWTV. No. Again. And that's all we have time for this week on Nightwise.com, KW905 Life on a Chromebook. To round up, yes, the Chromebook is a very interesting device. If you have a web-centered workflow and you tweak your workflows to be accessible from any operating system, mostly using a browser, you can survive on a Chromebook using Chrome OS. And if you want to geek out, you can just add some Linux to your Chromebook and fill in whatever gaps that you have. You'll be limited by the limited storage on the hard drive, which is about 16 gigabytes, depending on what you buy, but you can extend that just a little bit. It's not really a laptop. As you know, a laptop might have been back in the days. It kind of reminds you of the netbook, but it's actually more than a netbook because of what it can do. It works for you depending on how you've organized your workflows. But if you're a geek and a cross-platform geek, you will surely have fun with using a Chrome. Again. Okay, not so good. Guys at the chat room are really laughing because Jaspio just said that the recording was going really well. Thank you, Jaspio. You shouldn't have said that. Again. And that's all we have time for this week on Nightwise.com, KW905 Life on a Chromebook. Well, I've had a lot of fun using the Chromebook. I have that. Oh, come on. Bloopers. Again. And that's all we have time for on Nightwise.com, KW905 Life on a Chromebook. The question whether or not you can live on your Chromebook has been answered. I think that that you can. If you're a cross-platform geek who loves to slide from OS to OS, the Chromebook will be something to your liking. It's a light device that offers you a lot of possibilities at a low price. You're limited by the storage. You can enhance that, but you shouldn't take a look at a Chromebook the way you look at a normal laptop. Think of it as kind of an netbook, an expandable netbook that if you do your stuff right, you'll be able to really make that small, light, powerful, battery wise, and cheap device really, really work for you. Don't see it as a heavy, super powered laptop. You can probably run Steam on this, but the question is, do you want to? I don't know if you want to make your Chromebook do things it wasn't designed to do. It's kind of like finding the balance between using the closed Chrome OS, pimping it with Linux, and expecting it to do what your MacBook Pro or your i7 workstation can do. I don't think that you have to go that far, but there is plenty of room between all of those extremes to find a laptop for a cheap price that can really, really work for you. I'm taking this baby along with me almost every day now because I don't fear losing it or breaking it, and still it does what it needs to do. If I'm online, it flies, and when I'm offline, I can use either the essentials or switch to Linux. It's just darn great. So that's all we have time for this week on the Nightwise.com podcast. You know where to go when you want to send us feedback. Feedback at Nightwise.com is our email address. You can, of course, go over to the website, www.nightwise.com, and put a comment in the article for this episode if you have any questions. We're on Twitter, Nightwise.com/Twitter. We're on Facebook, Nightwise.com/Facebook. And we're on Google+, Nightwise.com/Google+, all one word. If you want to support the show, you can send us a donation like Bree did. Thank you, Bree, for sending us a donation, or surprise us with a Star Trek original series tricorder as a Christmas gift like Allison and Steve did. Thank you very much, which it was a pleasant surprise. I am now the proud owner of a original series tricorder replica. And I keep scanning people for intelligent life, but it seems to be broken because it's not out there. But that being said, this was Nightwise.com for 2014. Have a great year's end if you're going to celebrate. Be careful out there. And we will be back in the next year bringing you hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks. Until then, let technology work for you and let technology work for you and not the other way around. See you guys and girls. Bye-bye. All right. That was it. Come on, Sulu. There you go. All right, chat room. That's all for this week for the live episode. I hope that you guys will party. If you're going to party tonight, party safe. Don't drink and drive and stuff like that. And we'll be back in 2015. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Before we go out, just answer a couple of questions. How well does the Linux distro handle the embedded storage? Asked Tim King. It does. It eats away a little bit of it, but the great thing is when you do a side-by-side installation using Crouton that you can share the embedded storage. So if you enhance the embedded storage with something like a USB stick or a micro SD card, you can share that storage across two operating systems. So it's really like two applications using the same file structure. So you have your Chrome OS running using a file structure, and you have your Linux OS running using the same file structure. So you can actually save a file in one OS and pick it up in the other one, and vice versa. So that is really something that works really, really good. So that I hope that answers your question. All right, if there are no other questions, let me check the chat room here. We are going to go, and I'll leave you. I'll let the chat room say goodbye. Hold on, chat room. I'm going to put you live. There you go. All right. So if you want to say goodbye, type something now. It was great having you there. As Regravity says, as Mitchie says, it still sounds like a good computer for that amount of money. And I think that she is absolutely correct. The Chromebook is pretty much a pretty hefty lot of computer for little money. And if you just use it like Google intended you to use it, then you have a great laptop. If you add Linux to the mix, then there's even more. I'm going to let you guys go and say your goodbyes. This broadcast is about to end, and I'll dive into the editing before I dive into the New Year's celebration. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining the Nightwise.com live cast. I hope you had a great time. See you guys in 2015. Until then, let technology work for you. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to visit the website, www.nightwise.com. That's KNIGHTWISE.com to tune tech into your way of life. See you guys. Bye-bye.